All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me a touch on the top prop bets here for this Monday night showdown between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's go ahead and get into it. But first, let's get into a quick recap of how Sunday has went. Obviously, you guys are going to see, got two Monday Night Football bets right here. Only one missed bet on the day yesterday, and that was DJ Moore, who was at 3 receptions like midway through the second quarter, so a little bit tilting there. Now, the first bet was from the early previews video, and this second one is from the Sunday night video that I put out. So just need Rachaad White to come through here on PrizePicks. That one's obviously at least going to double up. And then the underdog bet of the day from Sunday ended up going 4 for 4, which was very nice. Nice little at least 10-unit day, depending on what Rachaad White ends up doing on Monday. So that'll be nice. And then I think it's worth calling out as well. Obviously, doing the Sunday video, I was kind of highlighting the fantasy score prop bets, kind of just telling everyone they could bet them. If you had bet on them on PrizePicks, you would have went 5 for 6. Obviously, maxing out your slip just betting on the top 6. If you bet on the top 8, you end up going 6 for 7 on the day as well. So very good stuff there from the 9 to 5 cheat sheet. And so with that, let's go ahead and get into the preview for this Monday Night Football game. And so looking at it, guys, this game is probably correct in terms of the scoring, about 46. Let's just round up to 46 total points. That kind of feels correct. At the same time, like the Chiefs offense has struggled a little bit. I think we're all expecting maybe Tampa Bay's offense to struggle a little bit more in this game. Obviously, with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans out going against that Kansas City Chiefs defense, they should probably struggle. That's kind of the expectation, but we'll see. But that's the biggest injury news there for the Bucs, is that Chris Godwin, Mike Evans are still out. And then for the Chiefs, the biggest question is really how many snaps will DeAndre Hopkins end up playing in this game? And so let's take a peek at some of those snaps. We did see it be kind of dominated by really 4 players: Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer, Sterling Shepard, and Ryan Miller gained a decent amount of snaps as well for the Bucs. But I also want to call your attention to someone named Raheem Jarrett, who was someone that popped up a decent amount during the preseason. He got a lot of hype out of camp. He actually played in his first game of the season last week, and he ended up, playing pretty well in limited snaps, which is pretty awesome to see for him. It wouldn't be surprising to see him maybe have a little bit of a breakout game. I don't think we really want to bet on that, but just something to watch for if you guys are watching this game, because he's a talent. It wouldn't be surprising to see him, honestly, maybe, I don't want to say be the number one here with not with Chris Godwin or Mike Evans, but like with this current group that they have, it wouldn't be surprised. Like, there's still sleepers out there. It wouldn't be surprising to see him potentially break out. Snap wise there for tight ends, Kadon obviously had a ton as well. And then running back wise, it is important. We did see White get up to more of his kind of normal snap share, at least when Bucky Irvin started to break out. Not that much to Sean Tucker, which I thought was a little bit shocking there. Rachaad White got used a lot in the passing game in that last game as well. That's why I bet him over 3.5 receptions already. And then for the Chiefs, we did see Kareem Hunt's snaps take a slight dip, 58% last week. P. Ryan got a decent amount of work, 31%. Tight end wise, guys, this is what I want to call out. So you guys saw on one of the bet slips earlier that I was on Noah Gray for over his receiving yards. That's kind of because he's been acting really as kind of the number 2 pass catcher, essentially for Patrick Mahomes since the Rashid Rice injury and kind of Isaiah Pacheco injury occurred. And I think we're going to bank on him getting 60% of the snaps. And if that occurs, I do think he's going to be a reliable bet for us. And then looking at the receiver snaps, DeAndre Hopkins is in here as well. We do expect him to get a little bit more work. But Xavier Worthy, for the amount of targets that he got to only have played 53% of the snaps, a little bit shocking. Justin Watson still kind of being the leading snap getter. He actually had a decent game last week as well. So that kind of does it for the game preview. Let's go ahead and get into the props. And for what it's worth, if you guys are someone that does more of traditional sportsbook bets, we're not gaining any advantage on any of the sportsbook with any of the bets that we currently have in terms of directly gain edge on them. In terms of projections versus what Vegas is giving us, it likes McCole Hardman to get under his receiving yards on Hard Rock Bet MGM. I don't really feel the need to go out of my way to target that one. And then we got Xavier Worthy for under his receiving yards as well. Again, I don't necessarily feel the need to go out of my way to target those. All right, so now that we've set the stage, let's go ahead and just show you the top prop bets on the cheat sheet right now. And that's going to be looking at Baker Mayfield under fantasy score, Xavier Worthy under fantasy score, Kareem Hunt under fantasy score, Noah Gray under fantasy score. Kind of interesting there. We do have Baker Mayfield for over 3.5 receptions. Let's go ahead and jump into the NFL tab just to get a more direct view of these bets. So the Baker Mayfield one is certainly interesting, I would say. Baker's been someone that has been playing well this season. We all know that. That's been well documented. But Baker is getting a more difficult matchup in this game. Will they be playing from behind? How behind will they be playing from? Will this be a game in which the Chiefs kind of continue to just try to establish the run, have these long drives, long sustained drives that really just kills the clock? I kind of expect that. And if that occurs, sure, Baker Mayfield could struggle. At the same time, there has been this like Baker magic that I don't necessarily want to bet against. But if the day is telling us to, I will still have some exposure to that for sure. I just don't know if I'll include that in the bet of the day here. Then from there, let's actually just jump into the Tampa Bay Bucks bets that we're getting. So I don't hate the idea of doing Baker over 3.5 rushing attempts. He has been someone that has been pulling the football a lot. If they're playing from behind, we might see some soft coverage, and then maybe, just maybe, that leads to Baker just pulling it on a few plays and rushing the football. But also that seemed a little bit too situational, a little bit too much banking on, a lot of the right things, a lot of things going right for him, I should say. I do find the Bucky Irving line to be kind of interesting there in PrizePicks, especially compared to Underdog, how they're valuing it. 9.5. We can see the PrizePicks line is clearly the outlier data point. And we also saw he's only getting about 40% of the work. And if that continues, then yeah, it's going to be tough, especially if Baker Mayfield's getting his under fantasy score as well. It's going to be tough for Bucky Irving to get that over as well. And so, yeah, Bucky Irving, guys, he did end up with 7 targets, 7 receptions. Obviously, if he does that again, he's going to really dominate. And that's kind of been the thing with Baker, is that he's really just been checking it down to the running backs, to Bucky Irving, to Sean Tucker a little bit, to White a lot. And so that's another one where I probably won't be betting on, but that's just a massive prop line difference between how Underdog is valuing that bet and how PrizePicks is valuing that bet. So I did want to call it out to you guys. Then from there, let's talk about Cade Otton. So everyone's going to be betting on Cade Otton to probably have a good game. I'm just assuming that. Don't know that for sure. But his over 5 receptions is going to be a solid one, I would say. But let's just take a peek at all of the prop bets that we're getting for him. So for Cade Otton, his 5 receptions, I'm kind of okay with that if we want to bet that over. Doing the math here, 5 receptions, 50 receiving yards, 10 fantasy points. So his fantasy score isn't accounting for too much of a touchdown, which is kind of okay. If he's still playing 90% of the snaps, I do expect him to have a good game. I don't mind the over receptions here for Cade Otton. I think that's a solid one. So first and foremost, let's take a peek at the last 2 games with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out. 10 targets in both those games, easily crushed the over in those games. Okay, so that's already a good thing for us. We jump into the 9-to-5 props cheat sheet again, kind of looking at his receptions just in general. I wanted to see the defense receptions given up on average per Cade Otton's role, and that's about 5.5 receptions per game. So again, should be a strong chance to get a push. I know the projection doesn't exactly like it. I kind of like it. I kind of think he's going to be able to get over, well, at least 4.5 receptions. I think that just has a great chance to be a push, and I'm happy to bet on that then. To be clear, happy to bet on that on a 1-game slate. All right, just to be clear. On a full slate, it's not one that I'd be going on my way to target. Now, an interesting one that I like as well for the Bucs is kind of Baker and his over pass attempts in general. If this is a game where they are playing from behind by 9, that does warrant a more pass-heavy script. And if you look at it, yeah, the Chiefs' defense is more vulnerable in the passing game, more so to the tight ends than receivers, but still vulnerable. And the Chiefs are pretty good at stopping the run. So I do expect the production for the running backs to come out of that passing game. And so if the Chiefs do stop the run, then that just means Baker Mayfield's going to be able to pass the football a lot, and thus the pass attempts here is going to be a good one. All right, so pulling up the Underdog cheat sheet in general, nice to see some college basketball props being pulled in there as well. I might be coming up with a video for that tomorrow. We'll see. If anything, it'll be an NBA and college basketball video combined together. But let's jump into the NFL tab. And so, yeah, more of the same bets popping up there. McMillan to get under 8 for a fantasy score. Again, that's not a terrible one. I actually really don't mind that here on Underdog. At the same time, he did play the most snaps of all the receivers for the Bucs, so a little bit concerning there, but not a lot of... I don't see a big difference, I guess, between him and Trey Palmer or Sterling Shepard, but clearly they like him the most. And so another one where I would almost recommend, if you like, maybe staying away from it and just betting the over fantasy score. But again, you guys saw, that's why I started with showing you guys how the top bets on the cheat sheet did. The more times you do that, the more likely you are to be wrong. Like, you can't do that too much. And so, yeah, I might just stay away from it, but I might be kicking myself for that. We are still getting Rachaad White receptions, but it's basically a 50-50 split at 3.5. And so that's just more of one that I like. Again, I just kind of think that that's going to be their choice of attacking the Chiefs. And so maybe that's the route that we can go. Let's go ahead and jump into the Chiefs bets that we're getting. So yeah, the one that's interesting to me is the Xavier Worthy bet that's popping up. So again, only played about 50% of the snaps. Logically speaking, if this were to hit, what would have to occur? I think DeAndre Hopkins would have to get a few more snaps as well. The issue with Xavier Worthy is he's just much more of a gadget player than he is really anything else at this point. He's more of MVS, but you can actually count on him to make some plays, if that makes sense. Don't like the fact that the projection data likes the over as well. So I don't know. Again, more of one that I would maybe want to stay away from. I don't mind Patrick Mahomes to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns. He has been playing well, I would say, the past few weeks. Really just depends on how the Bucs challenge them. Will they need to throw for 2 passing touchdowns? That's the biggest difference. But I don't mind that. 52% likely to hit. I'm kind of okay with that. Kareem Hunt. Hunt gets a pretty good matchup here against the Bucs. And if you kind of look at his past few games, a lot of his yards per carry stats are not going to be indicative of how he's really truly been playing, I would say, just because a lot of the situations that it's grinding out the clock, it's trying to get a 3rd and short, some goal line touchdowns as well, goal line carries as well. Very much situational usage. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not been a world beater by any means, but he's kind of been able to just do exactly what you would want him to do. Kind of think Leonard Fournette with the Bucs a few years ago, where nothing elite by any means, but like doing enough for you. Kind of, I guess, Ramondre Stevenson right now, although he had a pretty awesome catch for the Patriots at the end of their game. But really with Kareem Hunt, it's the workload. Will he score a touchdown or not? And I kind of think he might score another touchdown against this Bucs defense that is pretty poor. I do expect Patrick Mahomes to be able to move the football a lot. And so, again, not exactly one that I feel the need to target. Harrison Buckner. This is interesting. Over 2.5 extra points made. Again, the Bucs defense is terrible. They should be able to score 3 touchdowns. I actually think this is a good bet. Betting on the Chiefs to score 3 touchdowns. And maybe including that with Patrick. You can include that in underdog. But I don't mind that kind of stacking idea. So we do have Noah Gray at 21.5 receiving yards. I still like that one. I still think that that's going to be a good one for us. We're not getting a receptions prop for him on underdog. Kind of interesting there. And then just for what it's worth, talking about DeAndre Hopkins. So we have no idea how many snaps he's going to play. He might be used as kind of a red zone threat, maybe playing limitedly. So he could score a touchdown. Like, that's part of the equation. Like, the talent's still there for Hopkins based off of like last year. That talent, not prime DeAndre Hopkins. So I don't know, this is all depending on snaps, but even still, if he does play, let's say 70-60% of the snaps, I would still argue that we'd have to score a touchdown to get this over. So that's definitely a little bit too high for me as well. And then we jump back into Prize Picks here. I do find this line for him, for his under fantasy score, that the fact that's popping up, to be interesting, because I would be favoring the over here. So Noah Gray, like Travis Kelce, is going to get a good matchup. We can see he has been consistently getting a decent amount of targets. A lot of his receptions are kind of easy design plays as well, which I like. And so 3 targets last week, 4 targets the week before that, 2 targets, 4 targets. And again, just a 100% catch rate then. Really, if you look at that sample, he should be able to get this over. Like, if he gets three receptions, he should theoretically be able to get that over. But at that point, we might as well just go with his over receiving yards on underdog if we're already doing that. So I guess it somewhat makes sense. Then I did want to take a peek at Kareem Hunt and his rushing attempts here on Prize Picks. 17 right now. And so obviously the original line was at 16.5. I would argue that's still too low given the likely game flow of this game, where the Bucs are playing from behind, thus leading to a more run-heavy script for the Chiefs, thus leading to Kareem Hunt still getting a lot of those carries. So I still feel like this is too low. And I say still because maybe I think it was 2 slates ago actually for the Chiefs. They're on a primetime game, and that was one of the bets I recommended. So yeah, I kind of like that. I think that's almost a better route than betting the under fantasy score. And then yeah, these are the top Chief prop bets right now. Again, I don't necessarily love these that they're popping up that much. Kind of is what it is. I do like Patrick Mahomes for over his passing touchdowns. I do want to call it the big prop line difference between Patrick Mahomes' fantasy score on Prize Picks and underdog. This is something that shouldn't be happening. I do see Patrick Mahomes having a good day. At the same time, he's been pretty conservative with his play, not really throwing the football downfield. Maybe this does middle. But again, betting the under on underdog, betting the over on Prize Picks, decent middling opportunity there. And then the last bet I want to call out, I'm actually surprised this is only a 5.5. Travis Kelce get over 5.5 receptions. Again, pretty good matchup here. All the tight ends are pretty much in play to me. Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, K-Down. I like all of them. But it's a good matchup here for Travis Kelce as well, who really has been the receiver number 1 in this offense. Thus, I still think we want to be targeting that. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the bets of the day. But first, before we do that, let's go ahead and get into the 9to5 promo code that's currently going on. Use promo code KEEPCASH to get 20% off your first 9to5 monthly membership. So turn that $10 membership into $8 for the first month. And so, guys, looking at the underdog bet of the day, I'm just going to be going with Kate On for over 4.5 receptions, Noah Gray over 21.5 receiving yards, and then Kareem Hunt to get over 15.5 rushing attempts. That's already Kate On and Kareem Hunt for over their overs. I already like Kate On to get over 5 receptions. Yes, the payout's a little bit reduced when you include this one in there. Kareem Hunt as well, over 15.5 rushing attempts, but doing a 3-slip bet on underdog with this slip is still basically the exact same payout as like a PrizePicks typical 3-slip bet. So I'm kind of okay targeting those. Feel pretty good about this bet. And so because we're already getting decent edges on underdog, I don't feel the need to double dip here on PrizePicks. If you guys want to include like Baker Mayfield over 34.5 pass attempts on underdog, you can. That's like a 9.5x payout. Travis Kelce as well for over his 5.5 receptions. That's also like a 9.1 payout on underdog. I'm kind of okay with that. I'm just going to go with what the board is telling us with these 3 bets. Again, I don't necessarily love them. More times than not, the board's going to be more correct than me in these situations. Obviously, because it's just we're doing what Vegas is telling us to do. Now, Vegas isn't always right and whatnot. I'm kind of saying Vegas isn't going to be correct. So if you guys don't want to use this 4-slip bet, that's fine. It's a 1-game slate. Don't have to get too much exposure. Maybe just place 1 bet to, have some fun with it. But that's kind of the 4-slip bet that we're looking at there on PrizePicks as well. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for being here. Good luck with all your bets on this Monday Night Football game. Hopefully you guys had a good week as well. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to leave a like, comment your guys' favorite bet. Feel free to share this with anyone. That does help out. Again, if you guys want access to any of the tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to those for just $10 a month. When we use promo code KEEPCASHING, get the first month for just $8. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.